and he torched the Suns in 93 because they lacked agile wing defenders who could stay in front of him.
Shut up. We were good.
Actually,
we were a good team.
That Phoenix series was a perfect storm because they had very little rim protection.
All right, welcome back to another Air Jordan Rewind, everyone, where every single month on the 23rd, we celebrate around here. We do back-to-back Jordan reactions, so one in the morning, one at night. So you got this one right here, and then later on tonight, you'll have a second one. And then tomorrow is, well, it's the 24th, so we're going to celebrate Kobe in the same fashion. But for today, I've got a couple of really cool videos I've been wanting to check out. I've been holding back a little bit of Michael Jordan, my GOAT. And if you've been around my channel for a little while, I'm sure you know my views on Michael Jordan. And yeah, I think he's a pretty decent basketball player. Not too shabby. Anyways, all BS aside, I've got this video here I wanted to check out. And this is from Thinking Basketball, which, if you guys don't know, is like primo basketball content. And this one's called I Tracked Every Michael Jordan Playoff Game for a Decade. I can't say I'm not excited about this one because, as we all know, or at least most of us know, Jordan's game always elevated in the playoffs. So regular season, he was pure dominance. And in the playoffs, somehow he just brought it up to another level. And then whenever he made it to the finals, he just went into like Super Saiyan mode. And it was game over for everybody, which is why they're 6-0 in the NBA Finals, because he always just found a whole nother level. But honestly, a lot of my favorite Jordan content to watch is just watching him in any playoff game, because he's balls to the wall. I've never seen anybody play quite like it. So anyways, as I always do, I'm going to link the original video down below in the description. If you haven't checked out Thinking Basketball's channel, I highly recommend it. Fantastic content. Everybody that's watching, please leave this video a like. It helps out a ton. And without further ado, everybody, let's celebrate.
So we all know that Michael Jordan was an incredible basketball player.
He's all right.
For many people, he's the undisputed GOAT. And in the Thinking Basketball Greatest Peak series, our Patreon community voted him #1.
Nice.
But one topic that always comes up with MJ is his teammate quality. In 1994, Jordan retired, and without him, the Bulls won a hefty 55 games and played the Eastern champion Knicks to a near draw, leading some people to think he might have been playing with a stacked deck. Others think those championships were all about Jordan because he finally embraced the team game in 1991 under the Zen master Phil Jackson. To help answer this question, we went back and tracked 129 Michael Jordan playoff games to compare MJ and his teammates to what we've learned over the last quarter century.
Now, I've always been under the impression from watching, because I watched all those years of Bulls religiously, and when Jordan was retired, I watched the Bulls all the same. They were my favorite team. Scotty was my second favorite player. Even though I was watching some Penny Hardaway and Shaq out in Orlando, the Bulls were still my team. The impression I got and what I learned off of that was the team could hold their own, but they lacked the leadership that was needed. That was what Michael Jordan did. He was the closer and he was the leader. So when things got tough, they needed Michael Jordan to carry the team, and that's what was lacking, and that's why they couldn't win without him. And also why they only really lasted one season, almost one season, because it kind of fell apart at the end of that first season without him. And then the next year, what was it, 94, 95, they were falling apart fast. In fact, they were probably not going to make the playoffs the way it was looking until Jordan came back out of retirement and got him in there. So that's my view. It's not like he carried them or they carried him. It's that his job was to lead and be the closer. And without a leader and a closer, no team's going to win any championships.
As we've discussed many times, there's no easy way to measure how good an NBA player is. We use basic stats like points per game or shooting efficiencies in conjunction with more advanced ones like how much a player improved his teammate's shot quality. But there's no silver bullet. What most of us are really trying to figure out is how much a player helps his team win, how much his presence impacts the scoreboard. And that's where one particular stat is always worth knowing, even if it isn't perfect itself. I'm talking about plus minus.
Yeah.
And playoff plus minus has only been tracked since the 1996-97 season, which means we have no information on those early Jordan teams, well, until now. For instance, in 1988, a fourth-year Jordan won his first MVP and the Defensive Player of the Year in the regular season, while carrying the likes of Charles Oakley and Dave Corzine to 50 wins. The Bulls played 10 postseason games that year, defeating the Cavs in 5 before bowing out to the Pistons. And in that 10-game stretch, Chicago was outscored by about 4 points every 48 minutes Jordan was on the court. When he went to the bench, they were outscored by 8 points per 48, which is about a 4-point difference.
Okay, I just got to ask, has anybody done a breakdown like this for 2005, 2006 era Steve Nash? Because from what I remember, it was drastic whenever he went to the bench. Like, the team fell apart. He'd only get to sit a couple of minutes a game because we would have like a 20-point lead. He'd go sit on the bench for 2 minutes and we'd lose, like, we'd be down to like 8-point lead and Nash has to get back in and play hero.
As longtime Thinking Basketball followers know, 10 games is a really small sample, especially since Jordan only went to the bench for about 50 minutes during those playoffs. That means a few extra makes or misses would have a huge impact on those minutes that Jordan was off the floor.
So he's saying he sat about 5 minutes per playoff game during that era? Jeez.
So to understand how Chicago performed without MJ, we really need to look at more games. In 1989, Jordan hit the shot over Craig Elo, and the Bulls upset the Cleveland Cavaliers, then took out the Knicks before running into the Pistons again. This time, Jordan's on-off looked very different. The Bulls outscored their opponents by 4 points every 48 minutes he was on the court, but were outscored by nearly 20 points per 48 when he was off the court.
Wow. What is that? A like 24, like a 24-point differential? So is that a box plus minus, like a plus 24? Is that how this works?
That gives us 27 total games now, but it's still a noisy sample. So we went ahead and collected the 1990 playoffs and the 91 playoffs.
Dang, man.
And so on.
Okay, let's do this. This is going to be a good video.
After sifting through over 100 Bulls playoff games, we found some incredible gems, including a ringing endorsement for the channel.
Thinking basketball every day.
And this incredible quote.
Let me plug it again for you, bud.
Including a ringing endorsement.
Michael Jordan says it. Michael Jordan says it. Must be important. Everybody, subscribe to
endorsement for the channel.
Thinking basketball every day.
And this incredible quote about not wanting to excel as a three-point shooter.
Three-point shooting is something that I don't want to excel at. And when you have that mentality, as I found out in the first game, of making threes, you don't go to the hole as much. You go to the three-point line and you start sitting there waiting for someone to find you. And that's not my mentality. And I don't want to create that because it takes away from my other parts of my game.
Michael Wood.
I love that. I love that line, by the way. It's to everybody who ever said Jordan can't shoot threes. Well, he can. He proved it. And then he said, you know what? I'm better the other way. I like playing the other way and keeping the defense on guard. You know, that's my goat.
Was talking about threes because he made 6 of them in the first half of Game 1 against Portland back in the 92 finals, propelling him to 35 points before halftime.
But it makes perfect sense, though. Like, all these guys in here, they get to take it easy. They get to rest on defense when Jordan is just shooting threes. Everybody, even the guy guarding him, you know. They all get to take it easy because Jordan's just going to pop a three there. No one has to play any defense. They get a possession off. But if he starts penetrating, everybody has to play defense. He's going to get the other team in foul trouble. It's a whole different ball game when you attack versus just shoot threes like we do nowadays. And Jordan's success proved it.
On just 21 shots. Before that night, Jordan had made at least 5 threes in a game just once in his entire career, and he knocked down a half dozen before halftime.
Yeah.
Thanks to the shrug, that legendary performance is still talked about 30 years later, but I don't think I've seen anyone mention what happened next in Game 2.
I also noticed a lot of people don't mention what happened before that. What prompted that? That was Rick Adelman, the coach for the Portland Trailblazers, saying the strategy was they were going to play off of Jordan, which you can see in some of these clips. They were sagging off him by a couple of feet, daring him to shoot. So what was stupid is they made that public. They said that publicly. So then Jordan knew the strategy, and he was like, well, screw you guys. You're going to dare me to shoot? I'm going to punish you for it. So he did. And no team ever did that ever again.
Those 3-point shots were only half the story to Game 1 because Jordan was just as unstoppable from inside the arc, drilling 8 of his 12 2-point shots. Poor Clyde Drexler was left in single coverage most of the time, and if it wasn't the patented fadeaway that did him in, Jordan used his quickness to drive by Clyde into space and then float in mid-range pillows. In pick and roll, the Blazers sent a second defender to jump Michael, but Jordan shed him for more mid-range magic. So when Game 2 rolled...
I'm also noticing that's about 3 possessions in a row that Clyde isn't really... He's not really... contesting the shot.
But Jordan shed him for more mid-range.
Like this is like the closest he's getting to contesting the shot. And there's a lot of space between this and this, you know? So I don't know what was going on. He seemed kind of passive here.
Magic. So when Game 2 rolled around, the Blazers radically changed their defensive strategy. First by doubling him in the post so he couldn't feast on fadeaways down there, and then bringing extra defenders when possible to help on his drives. And these adjustments did make a difference, leading to some turnovers and some easy scores for Portland. But they also put Jordan in a position to set up his teammates for wide open shots. So his most prolific 3-point shooting game in the playoffs led to one of his most prolific playmaking games in the playoffs, setting up open shot after wide open shot for his teammates throughout the night. Of course, even when they sent help, Jordan's individual scoring brilliance was still on display. There are 3 Blazers lurking here, and this time he spins away from the help, and that's just insanity.
By the way, it drives me nuts when I hear Devin Booker complain about double teams. And I heard Ant-Man complain about double teams this season as well. It's insane to me because I grew up watching a dude getting triple teamed on a regular basis and still not turning the ball over. Like Jordan so rarely turned the ball over. He was just meticulous with everything. And he was so calm with the double, so calm with the triple, it never fazed him.
Since he finished with 39 points, Jordan's scoring pressure also created a ton of shots for teammates himself. Here's one in transition where he crosses right, hangs in the air, and kicks it out for an open 3, and he actually looked back to the trailer to freeze the defense before snapping it to the corner for that jumper. All told, I tracked a whopping 15 shots created like this for teammates, which is a hard number to hit historically.
Yeah, it's so simple. I mean, it's so simple when you know what you're doing with it.
15 shots created like this for teammates.
Look at this. Boom. He's basically got 4 guys on him. Obviously, someone's open. He had an option to go right in here for the dunk, or obviously there's going to be a guy in the wing and probably another guy on this wing.
Which is a hard number
but John Paxson is the correct choice every time.
Hit historically. For perspective, in the entire 2011 playoffs, the single game high I tracked was 14. So Jordan was a playmaking machine in this game, despite also dropping nearly 40.
Insane.
Portland tried other defenders on Michael besides Drexler, but he took smaller players like Terry Porter or Danny Ainge to the post. And against bigger defenders, he was just too quick off the dribble, and that's one less big body to stop him at the rim. This was actually a theme during Jordan's first 3 NBA Finals. The Lakers' starting 2-guard Byron Scott was too small for him in the post, And he torched the Suns in 93
Shut up.
because they lacked agile wing defenders
Shut up.
who could stay in front of him.
Shut up. We were good. We were
Actually,
a good team.
that Phoenix series was a perfect storm
No.
because they had very little rim protection once Jordan shed
Why he got to do Tom Chambers like that and then Marley? No, man, no.
his defender,
No.
and his finishing ability made
No,
him...
why every Michael Jordan video I watch, why is they always got to talk about this damn Suns teams? Come on, man. Why you got to do Dumas like that? Why you got to do Chuck like that? Why you about to do Marley like this?
nearly unstoppable.
No, man, no. And Tom Chambers. Why are you doing my whole team like this?
He was way too quick for Dan Marley,
Yeah, he
who
was.
lacked the foot speed to slide with him on the outside. And when the Suns tried a bigger forward like Richard Dumas, he was again unequipped to move with Michael on the perimeter.
Yeah, no.
Tom Chambers is playing center here, and he's too deep under the hoop and barely gets above 9 feet on his contest because he's not a shot blocker.
Man, yeah, helpless coach Paul Westphal. Yeah, there's nothing you can do. Nothing he could have done. There ain't nothing he could have done to stop MJ. MJ put up 41 a game. There's no stopping him.
If Jordan blew by Dumas and Charles Barkley was at the rim, he offered even less resistance on these drives. When Phoenix went to a quicker defender like Kevin Johnson, MJ had a size advantage and took him right back to the post.
Oh, man, poor KJ.
In game
What's he
4 of
supposed to
this
do against
series,
that?
Jordan scored 33 in the first half en route to 55 overall. And it wasn't just tactical mismatches, but more of his spectacular long-range shooting. Although this time it was mostly from just inside the three-point line. In his greatest peaks profile, we saw a more physically gifted MJ. His first step was a touch quicker, his motor revved a little higher.
Yeah.
But by 1992, he became a deadly outside shooter, putting
Back
on
then, he wasn't drinking or smoking cigars yet. That's what I recently found out from those interviews with the cigar aficionado. All those interviews I was reacting to. It was right after he won his first championship that he started smoking cigars. It was during the celebration, and then he kept smoking cigars after that, and then he was drinking too.
displays like this during critical playoff games. This is from the closeout game in the first round of 1992, and Jordan would just regularly stroke long jumper after long jumper like this, and he did it while somehow maintaining great efficiency for his time, probably because this version of Michael was one of the greatest mid-range shooters in league history.
Yeah, for sure.
One real GM
One of the, I would say he's, well, if this wasn't the greatest, then the greatest was like 95, 96, 97, 98.
poster named Dipper 13
Jordan.
tracked over 1,500 Jordan jumpers from 1990 to 1992
Jeez.
and had his mid-range accuracy at 51%.
Damn. We got certain other people who shoot like, what was it, like 29% from the mid-range that are a pretty famous basketball player. I don't remember his name right now. Something like Balka, something. Who knows? 51%, everybody. Damn. In the paint, easy 59%, no problem. But 51% from midi. No, I mean, and this is after watching. You guys see the footage. He's getting double teamed, triple teamed. He's on the run. He's fading away. He's shooting, going side to side. A lot of these mid-range shots are also like right inside the three-point line. 51.1%. Good Lord. And he's still shooting fine for three, considering how few he shoots.
Sounds completely reasonable after watching him torture teams
that.
in these playoff runs.
That's just one of those many mid-range shots. So those kind of shots, 51%.
Some of these shots are basically works of art, and
Yeah,
this was
look
one of
at
the
that.
best scoring displays I've ever seen, slicing up Miami in basically every phase of the game. The Knicks defended him well in 1992 and 93, even holding him to a 3 for 18 shooting game that year, only for MJ to go off in the very next game, dropping in 6 more threes in a 54-point outing to tie the series at 2 games.
What did he say? 54 points? Yep, that's him. He rarely has 2 bad shooting games in a row.
Apiece. So, even if Jordan lost a touch off his fastball by 1992 and 1993, he was still otherworldly, which brings us back to our original questions. How did the Bulls perform with him in the game, and what happened when Jordan went to the bench during the 1990s?
Man, you know it's like a drug for me because I don't even care about the stats. I'm just so happy watching this Jordan footage right now. It's just I got a huge smile on my face. I wasn't feeling great this morning. Tell you the truth, my stomach is acting up a little bit today, and I was kind of like, let's go do this. And then, man, I'm so glad. It is like a drug for me, man. I could be in a worse mood watching some Jordan footage. I am lit up all over again every single time.
In 1990, Phil Jackson arrived and installed the triangle offense,
Yes, sir.
which was mostly in full swing by the time Chicago hit the playoffs that year. The Bulls again bowed out to the eventual champion Pistons in 7 hard-fought games. But in Jordan's playoff minutes,
Look at the clap. Look at the clap.
champion Pistons in 7
Boom.
hard-fought games.
Clap, clap.
But in Jordan's playoff minutes that season, the Bulls outscored their opponents by over 7 points per 48, a jump into championship-level territory. In 2 seasons, Chicago had completely reshaped the roster around Jordan, with Charles Oakley, Sam Vincent, Dave Corzine, and Brad Sellers out, replaced by Bill Cartwright, Craig Hodges, B.J. Armstrong, and Stacey King, along with the emergence of their supporting stars, Horace Grant, and of course, Scottie Pippen. So in 1991, when the Bulls broke through, they were a whopping 13.5 points better than their opponents with Jordan on the floor, and they still outscored their opponents even when he went to the bench.
Nice.
In 1992, they weren't as dominant with Jordan in the game, but without him, lineups often spearheaded by Pippen, the Bulls again outscored their opponents.
Oh, wow.
In 93, the numbers were similar, although his teammates were outscored by a few points when he wasn't in the game.
Oh, okay. You could tell the rest of the team was getting tired by that point then. But wow. A lot of people I talked to say 92 was the best Bulls team. You guys might be right. You might be right because it looks like it wasn't just about Jordan that year. Jordan did his usual great things, but the team actually improved drastically during that season, and it was kind of like a peak. And then they actually got worse, much worse the following year. But that makes sense. I'm curious what the 96, 7, and 8 teams look like.
Remember, we wanted to eliminate some of the noise by tracking multiple seasons. So if we combine these seasons and look at multi-year stretches, we start to see a pattern. As the years progress, the Bulls look better and better without Jordan, improving from a team with essentially no chance at a title to one that looks like a really good supporting cast in the playoffs. If we compare these numbers to larger minute stretches, Jordan's supporting cast went from the 0th percentile to the 37th percentile and ultimately into the top 25% of supporting players. If we include the 94 Bulls, who played 10 full playoff games without Michael, we see a pretty steady rate of growth into the mid-90s without Jordan in the game. Now remember, these numbers are still a little sensitive to hot and cold stretches, and more importantly, this is really about Jordan's value on the Bulls specifically. Who was his backup, or how did they structure the lineups without him in the game?
Yeah, I gotta say you can see the change in those numbers once the triangle was implemented, because before the triangle, before Tex and Phil took over, it was more of an ISO ball, one-on-one kind of situation for Jordan. Give Jordan the ball, everyone get the hell out of the way kind of thing. So when he was on the bench, no one knew what they were doing. But at least with the triangle, they have a set offense that with or without Jordan, they're going to run this offense. So it makes perfect sense that they did better without, those seasons with the triangle. They could do better while Jordan was on the bench versus when they weren't using a triangle because they had no offensive identity without Jordan. So well done, Tex.
With that said, I wanted to see how Jordan and the Bulls compared to other high-minute players who made deep playoff runs over multiple seasons. The horizontal axis is how good the team was when the player was on the court, and the vertical axis is how much the team improved with the player in the game. These are all the players who logged 1,500 playoff minutes and 500 minutes on the bench over multi-year stretches since 1997. The player with the largest change is David Robinson. The Spurs were 25 points better with him from 1998 to 2001.
Wow.
Although
all the way to 2001. That was not even. This is not prime David Robinson, guys. Not at all. This is injured David Robinson. 25.1 better with him on the court. Wow. That might mainly be defense.
Robinson wasn't his team leader in minutes, so his lineups could have been more favorable for a stat like this. Among minute leaders, Shaq's Lakers were 21 points better with him.
Okay, real quick, I'm sorry. This also could be because these were the Tim Duncan years as well. So he was on the floor with Tim Duncan. I wonder if that plays into it because they were both on the floor at the same time. You know what I mean? And then same thing with Jordan and Pippen. They pretty much were on the floor at the same times. I wonder.
In the playoffs from 2000 to 2004, and LeBron's teams were 19 points better from 2016 to 2021. Jordan's best stretch came from 1989 to 93, where the Bulls were 14 points better with him in the game. So this is a great number, but isn't quite as emphatic as Shaq's or even LeBron's. The Bulls' best stretch with Michael on the floor includes that second three-peat, where from 1991 to 96, they were nearly 9 points better than the competition, short of Curry's monstrous plus 12, but still one of the best stretches on record. The 96 Bulls went an incredible 87-13, a record that still stands to this day, although the 1991 team was actually slightly better with Jordan on the floor during the playoffs. For those final three championships, Michael was older and less explosive, although he was stronger and craftier than ever.
What a great post move.
That strength
I'm sorry, just look at this. It's you don't see anything like this in basketball anymore.
Although he
Boom. So one push,
was
two push,
stronger
and now a rotate.
and craftier
Jeez, he's getting double teamed here, and he's gonna lay it right over him because he's got his defender off balance
than ever. That
think that was
strength
Reggie.
let him operate out of the post, commanding double teams that freed up his teammates, and he could overpower defenders down there, and then, instead of an acrobatic finish, kick it out to a wide open shooter. Michael's size and body control really stand out in these years, feeling a defender on his back before spinning away to collapse the defense and set up a teammate. And even though he lost some of that quickness, he could still stop on a dime to create space.
Yep.
And despite all the jukes and spins, he just seemed to be in total control of his body at all times.
Yeah, he came back with much better footwork. Well, he didn't come back with it. He worked on that footwork a lot more the second time around. Second three-peat.
This was never more apparent than in the evolution of his fadeaway, where he couldn't always out-jump his defender, so he had to alter his shot in the air. This meant changing the angle of his body and the arc of the jumper, looping it over a nearby hand. He also used the pump fake more to create a little extra breathing room to fire, and he could do all this while reclining his body at extreme angles while he was in the air. This is like a pool shark learning all the tricks and bounces of the table, his mind adapting in real time to lean back a little more or aim the shot just a little.
Crazy. Look how little clearance there is here.
Adapting in real time to lean back a little more or aim.
Look at this. Look how little clearance there is. He did this. He did this 20 times a game. He never got blocked face up. Once in a blue moon, he'd get blocked from behind, like he misread the weak side help. But he almost never got blocked face up. Yet every single one of his shots looked like this, where it's just like, how did he even get that off? Like he had like a centimeter of space to do it. He was like a pool shark. He learned every little trick in the book.
shot
Look at that.
just a little higher. His defense was also really impressive in those final Chicago seasons, using his strength and anticipation to contain the ball and maintaining a relatively high motor on that end despite being longer in the tooth. His hands were as destructive as ever, and he actually gambled less during those second three-peat years compared to his more chaotic style when he was younger, and even that risk-taking was often calculated and precise. As a result, he actually put up some of the more impressive plus-minus numbers in his playoff career, where the Bulls were outscored by 3 points without him during the 96 playoffs, but then crushed teams by 13 points per 48 with Jordan on the floor.
Okay.
The NBA
See, that's interesting. I thought it was going to go the other way on the second 3P team. I thought, because I mean, in my opinion, the second 3P team was even better.
He started tracking plus minus in 1997, and he looks great there too.
Whoa. They took a big dip, negative 14 in 1997. So what is that? Like 14, 8, I don't know, 14 plus 8, 22. So that's like a negative 22 point differential? Shoot.
As well as in 1998. So, what can we make of all this? Well, despite the noise in plus-minus stats, I find these numbers incredibly important for a few reasons. First, they affirm that Jordan's supporting cast radically improved during their title-winning seasons, not necessarily Michael himself. As we discussed in his Greatest Peaks profile, MJ looked superhuman before Chicago won a title. He just needed the right teammates to climb the mountain.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Second,
he was always superhuman, whether they were winning or not. So he was always doing his thing. He just needed the rest of the team to step up and help.
both of the three peoples looked great when Jordan was on the floor,
Boom.
with their second 3-year run falling just behind Steph Curry's Warriors during the Kevin Durant years.
Again. Hold on. I'm just going to point it out one more time, I promise. But just, again, I mean, okay, he had a little more clearance there this time, but still. You know what I mean? Because really, we're looking at the hand to his hand. That's close.
In the
Sorry,
Kevin
Hornacek.
Durant years. And finally, Jordan does not actually look like an outlier compared to other greats when he was on the court versus off it. His teams were plenty competitive without him, and when he was in the game, other all-time clubs were comparably dominant. Of course, there's enough variability in these numbers that the best player ever isn't guaranteed to have the best on-off ever, so the debate will certainly rage on. But I'll leave you with this. After pouring through over 100 playoff games of Jordan and the Bulls, it's hard to find a more consistently impressive decade of playoff performances in the entire history of the NBA,
Right.
and the numbers certainly back that up. If you want more detailed access to these numbers and just more content in general, check out patreon.com/thinkingbasketball. We have historical data back to the shot clock, a Patreon community, and a ton more. This was one of the most fun videos we've ever made, so hopefully you found it interesting, even if charts and graphs aren't your thing. Thanks as always for watching, and wherever you are, I hope that you're having a great day.
I am now, man. Thank you very much for a fantastic video. That was awesome. That was very, very awesome. Yeah, I also have never seen another player that consistent for that long in the playoffs. I've never seen it. Even when he made his comeback in 94, 95. Yeah. And you know, he wasn't in basketball shape and all that stuff. You've heard it before. But he came back at the end of the season to help them try to make a playoff run. Even then, he still kicked ass. You know, his numbers were phenomenal. Yeah, he lost a step obviously at that point, but he was still consistent, and that's the shocking thing. The guy, there's no other way to say it. I've never seen anyone that consistent in the playoffs for that many years straight. It's never happened. I'd like to see it again. I really would, but I've never seen anybody else do it. I'm pretty sure we could say like Bird did for quite a while, but did he do it for 10 years straight? Maybe he did. Maybe he did. He was pretty damn consistent, and I don't recall him ever choking. He's lost just like anybody else is lost, but I don't recall him choking or having a game where he shoots like 2 for 12 or something crazy. You know what I mean? Anyways, everybody, that is part 1 of our celebration of Michael Jordan, my favorite player and the player that gets me feeling healthy when I'm not feeling healthy. Explain it, I don't know. Whatever it is, it is. Leave your comments down below, everybody. We'll have a good conversation like we always do. Did you learn anything here? I was kind of surprised at the later years, like 97 really shocked me. Because I would have assumed that team was pretty functional without Jordan. You know, not a title contender, but functional enough to hang. But it turns out that second three-peat was really relying on Michael Jordan to win, even more so than the first three-peat. So that is new knowledge to me. I am actually really, really shocked about that. I guess it just goes to show like how much hunger the Bulls had by the time 91 came around, and they finally got over the hump against Detroit. Like, they were a hungry team, and they were all ready to eat. So anyways, everybody, peace out. Like the video if you liked it. Go check out Thinking Basketball's channel if you like this video. It's a fantastic channel, obviously. And I'll see you later tonight for the next one. We'll check out some more Jordan stuff. I got an interesting one. At least I hope it is. I have no idea what it's about, but I've definitely never seen it. So I'll see you guys there. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. Hit the bell if you want to get notified for the video drop later on tonight. And peace out.